Hey Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you my August 15th layout for Stuck Sketches. This is this month's August 15th sketch, and this is the layout that I created based on that sketch. This is got to be one of my favorite layouts that I've created, and I am so grateful to Laura for creating such an awesome sketch that resulted in that. So that flower from One Canoe Two, or Flowers, is the inspiration for this page. When I saw the flowers that go down that diagonal on the sketch, I knew that I wanted to fussy cut those flowers. And while I had a lot of the coordinating papers that went with this One Canoe Two collection, I didn't really feel that they showcased the flowers and or the sketch the way that I had really wanted to. So I found that piece of striped paper from Fancy Pants, and I played with some different blues and woodcuts, tan colored papers to showcase these pictures. I pulled various papers. There's some from Pebbles, there's a couple from I think I had Fancy Pants. I had a couple of papers, and I ended up settling with yet another paper from Fancy Pants. The striped piece that I used for that top left corner is from Happy Go Lucky, and the blue piece is from the Trendsetter collection, again both from Fancy Pants. So I fussy cut several of these flowers from the One Canoe Two paper, and I used them to sprinkle along that diagonal of the page that I created. I was not afraid to use some of these edge pieces of the flowers because I knew that they would get tucked behind photos, and then that way I wasn't wasting flowers and or time doing too much fussy cutting. So you can see how I began with that plaid piece of paper from Pebbles, and while I like the look, it really made the pictures that I did print in sepia, it made them a lot more tanner and less black than what I wanted for the pictures. So by changing that paper to the darker blue, which is the same hue blue as the flowers are sitting on here on the actual piece of paper from One Canoe Two, I was able to change the tone of the pictures as well as really sort of accentuate the blue hues and the cooler tones in the pattern papers that I used. So while I wasn't sure what background I wanted to use, I thought that I would put all of my elements on this vellum, and then that way I could just sort of move it around as I've done there in order to get the effect of what I wanted. It didn't take me long, as you can see, to find that I really thought that that blue polka dot was going to be better, but I did try a couple of other things, and I ended up moving stuff off of the vellum because the vellum wasn't as see-through as I wanted. My idea to use a mat for just sliding elements probably would have worked better if I had used some clear packaging. But again, as I said, it didn't take me long to figure out that that blue was definitely the way to go. So I just took this large triangle and stuck that on the blue paper. I could have saved the blue paper and cut off the top half, but there was no need. I have a lot of paper, and I actually believe I have two pieces of that blue. So I just lined up the flowers as the sketch called for. I had toyed with the idea of changing the direction of the sketch and putting the flowers on the opposite diagonal, but I liked the movement of the diagonals in my stripe, and so it worked better for me to do it the way that the sketch called for. I supplemented some of the flowers with a couple of these white, also floral die cuts that I used from my silhouette. The white, in the crispness of the white, really accentuated the darker colors, and it also brought out the pictures, the white in the pictures. So I had a few just sort of plain flowers per se that offset nicely the the flowers from one canoe too. So I just adhered those down, and what I did was I put the larger flowers by the photos, and then I moved out to smaller flowers. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my stitch pad and a embossing pen to just draw down the line of those flowers, and you can see how that raises up the flowers and gives them a bit of a score, which adds some dimension to this page. I did not glue all of those white die cut leaves down. I just put glue down the center so that I could fold up again some of the edges of the white die cut floral in order to again give a fair amount of dimension to this page. The pictures you will see in a little bit are also that left-hand side picture, the one of my daughter and I that's from head to toe. I put on some folded vellum, and then there is some gold thread that I also put. So there really is a lot of dimension to this page. It will probably also need to be a layout that goes into a frame for a little while in order to preserve the dimension on that page. So sticking these down in such a way as to just have adhesive behind the circular part of the flower and leave the leaves so that they have some dimension. These white flowers, again, just to punctuate the other florals that I want to be the emphasis of the page. And so now that I've got the bulk of that, I'm going to go in and just add some other fun embellishments. So I put some thread bundles underneath those two large flowers there, and again it was just to add some gold to the page, and then I wanted to back a few of these photos, and I decided to go with that lovely gold there. You lose the effect of that darker gold vellum, but it still is almost that same yellow hue as it are in the flowers. So what I'm doing here is I'm using this lighter gold vellum and I'm folding it accordion a little bit in order to just pop the picture from that back layer that I will then set it on, and then I use this darker gold for behind the other picture. These golds sort of have a mustard hue to them, which is a similar hue as what is found in the flowers. So that's how I'm going to back both of those pictures, but because I do have the picture on the left, it needs a little bit more darkness drawn to it, and so I then put that gold vellum you'll see on a another piece of blue. It's not quite the same blue, but it's a close enough blue, and it's just a hint of it that's poking out from behind that vellum. I do pop this picture with some craft foam. So again, you can see there is an awful lot of dimension in this. I had these gold tags and I thought they would be fun to be poking out from behind the picture. The problem is that with just that single tag poking out, you can't really see it, and it loses its definition, really. You'll see what I mean when I cut this out. So I just use my trimmer to cut off those edges, and then I slide it behind there, and it looks nice, but it needs something else to really make that stand out. So this is the blue that I was talking about, just a teeny tiny bit of that, and you can see how having that blue behind the gold vellum really pops that picture a little bit and makes it stand out, especially against the contrast of the diagonal of the blue on the horizontal stripes, and then to the blue on the polka dotted blue of the background there. So there's a white tag. And I just use my adhesive in order to create a pocket for that'll go right there so that the tag can slide in and out using some double-sided adhesive. Put that down and then overlap that particular picture with the one on the right. And because there's a border to that picture, that'll stop the tag from sliding too far through. So there's that pocket that I've created there. and it's time to work on the title. So I had this piece of ephemera from the One Canoe 2 collection, and it just says Adventure, and it's gold foiled, and I knew I wanted that to be the title. My original thought on the title had been something to do with parenting, how life is a parenting adventure with you, meaning my daughter, but I wasn't able to make that work from a space perspective. I wanted to keep things contained into the center of the square, and so I end up changing my title. In the sketch, Laura has some butterflies, and so I decided to pull out my wood veneers, and I actually have a butterfly that I put right there, and then you see the bird that I put down in the bottom left corner sitting on top of one of the leaves there. I liked the two different elements rather than having two of the same, and so I just went with those two different elements and used some Scotch Quick Dry to keep those down. I could have used glue dots as well, but my Quick Dry is what I have handy, and so that's what I went with. So now I'm pulling out some letters. I went with a bunch of letters. I tried these Evalicious letters from my Cocoa Daisy kits, but the blue is not quite the right hue, which prompted me to pull out some other letters. So I have those two from gold, two golden letters, and a different hue of blue from Evalicious. But I know that that's not quite the same hue that I'm looking for, and I know that'll bother me. So this is the closest that I would find. So I did the Jelly Bean Soup letters for life, but I need to work backwards because I knew Adventure was going to stick there. And so I used these letters to do is and those are from Maggie Holmes. And then I stuck life above it. And the light that on this layout does make that very hard to read, but when you look at the close-ups, you can see that it is very easy to read. So I originally did it side by side, but because I wanted to preserve sort of the square in the center there and not take things too far over to the left, I ended up moving life above is Anne. So I'm going to adhere that down, and we're going to call that good for this. So there's a couple of close-ups to follow. I hope you enjoyed my process, and I hope you love this video as much as I enjoyed creating the video and this particular layout. Thanks for joining us today, and don't forget that if you play with Stuck Sketches, there are some prizes to be won. Take care.